young and restless. Kyle thinks he's got one up on both Audra and Victor. His smug, confrontational behavior says it all. The problem? He thinks he's won, but he's already lost. He just hasn't realized it yet. Kyle is the epitome of cocky and condescending at the moment, hollering down Audra for trying to seduce him on Victor's behalf, bragging about exposing their plot, and even going so far as to throw it in the mustache's face when he's already on the warpath over Nick being locked up. To say Kyle's not thought this through would be an understatement. Much like he's had to do with his brother Billy umpteen times, Jack warned his son not to confront Victor and provoke his wrath. Hot-headed Kyle shouted back confidently that Victor should fear his wrath. Yeah, that was when we knew his goose was well and truly cooked. Kyle proceeded to not only square off with Victor over the plot he concocted with Audra, but to do so in front of Nikki. Now, Nikki won't be at all pleased about Victor's machinations. However, neither she nor Kyle will be able to stop what's coming. It's simply too late. While Kyle's girlfriend Claire remains curled in a ball at home mourning her dead dad, her boyfriend was in bed with his ex-lover wearing nothing but a towel. Facts. Whether he cries set up or not, the damage will have been done. But how will she find out, you might ask? If you haven't already foreseen that Victor will have that footage sent directly to his granddaughter the minute he gets cell reception, then you don't know the Black Knight. Sure, it will hurt her, but in his mind, he'll be causing her a little heartache now to save her a whole lot of heartbreak later. He'll justify it and worry about the fallout later, which will be considerable given that he's unaware she's also dealing with Cole's death. If Victor doesn't do it, Audra will, in an attempt to hold up her end of the bargain with Victor and save Vibrante. Once Claire gets a gander at Kyle canoodling with Audra in the sack, it should be the last straw. Assuming Kyle cheated, Claire's crazy will make a comeback, and she might even hop into bed with Holden, whose shoulder she's been leaning on heavily. Panic attack or not, you can't tell us she didn't notice his insane abs that night in the park. Once Kyle gets back to Genoa City and tries to explain himself, he'll discover his girlfriend's been to bed with another man, and, yeah, by going to France with Audra to call her bluff, Kyle's set in motion a chain reaction, and his relationship with Claire is done like dinner. He just hasn't realized it yet. Do you think Kyle's missteps will end his relationship with Claire? Vote! Hello everyone! Welcome back to my channel, Pulse Canvas. It's me, Julie here. I hope everyone is having a wonderful day. Keep watching. So let's dive into today's video. On the Thursday, July 23rd episode of The Young and the Restless, Victor responded to Kyle's accusations. Audra, Lily, and Phyllis squared off against each other over Damien's killer, and Nick and Sharon began to find a way out of their prison. Victor and Nikki reconnected in the maze of shrubbery. She asked her husband why Kane and Carter rushed off. Victor said he tried to go after Carter, but then he ran into the Abbotts. Victor told Nikki he was worried about Nick and Sharon. Victor said he followed Carter for another reason. He seemed odd to him. Nikki concurred, pointing out that Carter seemed mechanical. Victor said he was almost robotic. Kyle approached Victor and Nikki. He informed them that Audra's game was up. Kyle said he knew what she was up to. Victor feigned innocence. Kyle said he loved Claire and wouldn't ever hurt her. Victor asked Kyle if he was through with his little speech. Nikki was surprised to hear Kyle's accusations towards Victor. Victor continued to deny Kyle's theories. Kyle realized eased that nothing he ever did could get Victor on his side, and added that he was done trying to prove himself. Kyle added that there was nothing Victor could do to stop him. "Watch me," Victor replied. After Victor left, Nikki assured Kyle that she had nothing to do with the scheme that Kyle outlined. Nikki doubted Audra was committed to anything or anyone but herself. Kyle said that approved his case, that she's in cahoots with Victor. "It doesn't take much to put the pieces together, Nikki," Kyle said. Victor ran into Chance in the maze of shrubbery and informed him that Nick and Sharon were under house arrest. Chance said that Kane can't do that, but pointed out he was playing by his own rules. Chance told Victor about his conversation with Carter. He asked Carter where he was when Damien was killed. Carter told Chance that he'd retired for the night and was in bed. Chance added that he then talked to the groundskeeper, who gave him a conflicting story. Chance said that the groundskeeper's story and Carter's story don't add up. Victor wondered if Carter killed for Kane. He told Chance that Nikki observed that Carter was kind of robotic. Meanwhile, Kane reviewed the video of him and Damien just before Damien was murdered. Amanda entered and asked Kane to tell her that he was not deleting evidence. Kane said he was going to ask Amanda that question. Had she done that to protect her boss or someone else? Kane wondered. Amanda said she was innocent. If she had seen any evidence of Kane committing a crime, and she deleted it, she would have been an accomplice. Amanda noted that Phyllis has no motive to kill Kane or Damien. She can't think of any guest who would want Kane dead. Kane asked Amanda if he needed to die to convince her he is not the killer. Amanda wondered if there was a glitch in the video. Kane said that would be too coincidental. Kane believed that Nick was the killer. Amanda said he'd have to get into his room and bypass Kane's security. Kane admitted he could be wrong about Nick. Amanda urged Kane to release Nick and Sharon. She asked Kane why she had heard that Kane put Nick and Sharon under house arrest at her suggestion. Kane said he needed to say something as Nikki was grilling him. Kane said that Damien dying in his arms hasn't resulted in him being the calm voice of reason. Amanda said it was wrong to imprison Nick and Sharon. Kane said he was considering letting Nick and Sharon go. Amanda wanted to tell that to security right now. Kane told her to hold off. Next, said he wasn't holding Nick for leverage with Chancellor Industries. However, now he wanted to try to use Nick to his advantage. Meanwhile, Audra encountered Lily in the maze of shrubbery. They lamented Damien's death. Lily wasn't sure how they'd tell Nate and Amy. Audra said she would have benefited from having Nate with her. Audra and Lily realized someone was nearby. Lily called out, telling the mystery person or persons that this was not the time to be hiding. Then, Phyllis appeared and announced she wasn't the killer. She was just eavesdropping. Audra and Lily chastised Phyllis for doing what she had done. Lily pointed out that she could have hurt Phyllis. The redhead just suggested that they breathe. Phyllis also said it'd be a good idea to do more listening in so they can find out who the killer is. Phyllis maintained that Kane was innocent. She added that Kyle did. Lily asked Phyllis who did it. Phyllis said she didn't know who the killer was, but dropped a subtle reminder that Lily had killed Hillary. Lily scoffed and said that Damien's death was intentional. Phyllis said that anyone could find a motive in anyone. Lily said she wouldn't be surprised if Kane had the police in his back pocket. She added that Kane doesn't want Chance to have the resources to get to the truth. Phyllis pointed out that he didn't know Damien was a threat when he first arrived in France. Lily wondered why everyone was defending Kane. Phyllis told Lily she needed to calm down. Phyllis pointed out that Audra didn't seem too rattled. Audra promised Phyllis she could show her rattled if she didn't back off. Phyllis told Lily it was understandable why she wanted to point fingers at Kane, given their past. She asked Lily to realize that there's no way Kane was capable of violence. Audra said Phyllis's logic does make sense, even though she doesn't like her. Lily wondered if Audra was now siding with Phyllis. Audra admitted that someone crazy could still be logical. Phyllis sarcastically thanked Audra, and then she asked Lily how she could suspect Kane of committing murder, given that he's the father of their children. Sharon apologized to Nick for panicking. Nick told her they'd known each other far too long for there to be anything too embarrassing between them. He reminded her of the awful haircut he once had. If they came back from that, they could come back from anything. After calming down a bit, Sharon respectfully disagreed with Nick's assessment. She said being with Nick is the most natural thing in the world, but she's never had a bad hair day in her life. Nick admitted that Sharon got him with that one. Nick applauded Sharon for not ending up on the floor, given what she's been through. Sharon suggested they find out what Kane was truly up to. Nick realized they had to find a way out. Sharon suggested they find a way to pick the lock. Nick opened a trunk. Sharon found in it some old photos dating back to 1924. Nick wondered if it was an old winery, and that the maze could be sitting on what was an old vineyard. Nick wondered why Kane wasn't serving the wine he may already own instead of the expensive stuff he'd been giving them. Sharon commented on how much wealth Kane had amassed in such a short amount of time. She said that Colin was a con artist, but she had more positive hopes for Kane. Nick said once Kane was away from Lily, he didn't know what he turned into. Sharon wasn't sure what she and Nick were supposed to stop when it came to Kane's plan. Sharon found an old bottle of champagne. Nick took it and said he had an idea. Sharon hoped it wasn't to drink what's inside. Nick pointed out to Sharon something called a muselet, which is a wire in a champagne bottle that keeps the cork from flying out when it's popped. Sharon asked him how he knew that. Nick said it was because he wasn't raised in a barn. Sharon said that she always thought of Nick as a beer guy. Kane is not the only one who knows a thing or two about the finer things in life, Nick said. Sharon said that she still thinks Nick wants them to drink their way out. Nick asked Sharon if she had ever tried picking a lock. Sharon said that yes, when she and Phyllis were in the clinic, trapped. Nick said to Sharon she had another chance. Handing her the muselet, Sharon began picking at the lock. The Young and the Restless Scoop, for Thursday, July 24th, reveals Nick Newman will be gravely injured. Also coming up, Victor Newman and Chance Chancellor will grill Carter. Plus, Billy Abbott will bond with Kane Ashby, and Jack Abbott will weigh his options about his brother. Y&R spoilers tease Jack will vent to Diane Jenkins about his brother. He'll say Billy has made it clear he neither wants or needs his help. Maybe it's time to accept his decision and see where it takes us. In the maze, Audra Charles will ask Kyle Abbott if they can clear the air, but he'll say he's not buying what she's selling. Audra will say she turned to him in a moment of weakness, and Kyle will tell her he confronted Victor about their plot. I've been on to you from the start, and this pathetic act of repentance you're trying to sell me right now is too little, too late. He'll add he's going to tell everyone what she tried to do. As dumb as you are, Kyle, you must realize that everyone is focused on Damien's murder, she'll reply. But Kyle will tell her once the dust settles, Victor will focus his attention on her. And that will be the end of Vibrante, and your career. Audra will say he and his girlfriend are not a match. I kissed you, but you kissed me back, she'll add. Why did you fall onto the bed with me, wearing only a towel? Audra will continue, saying she wonders how Claire Newman would feel if she saw how much he wanted her. You're wrong about me, and you're wrong about me and Claire, Kyle will reply. You made your bed, and now you're gonna lie in it. In the locked storage room, Sharon Newman will successfully pick the lock. When Nick opens the door, the goon will be standing there. Nick will say he's glad to see him. Then he'll try to barrel the guy out of the way. They'll wrestle around, and the goon will push Nick into the heavy chest. Nick will grab his side, and there will be blood on his hand. Have you had enough? The goon will ask. Nope, Nick will reply. He'll pick up the champagne bottle, hit the guy in the head with it, and the goon will pass out. Sharon will assist Nick over to the chair, and he'll ask her to go get help. Meanwhile, Billy will run into Kane and tell him he admires him and all he's accomplished. Kane will say he appreciates that. He knows they've had their differences, but he has no ill will towards him. Thank you, brother, Billy will reply. Kane will say it's been a long time since someone called him brother. Then Billy will try to pitch him on making a big commitment at Abbott Communications. I hate to disappoint you, Billy, but I'm not ready to make a handshake deal, he'll reply. Billy will say when Kane gets back to Genoa City, he's going to need an ally. I know what you want, and I can help you get it. Kane will pat Billy on the shoulder and say he'll let him know soon. After Kane leaves, Sharon will appear and tell Billy that Nick is hurt and needs his help. So, they'll arrive in the storage room and Billy will press a cloth to Nick's wound. He'll say he's bleeding badly and needs a doctor. He needs someone here who knows more first aid than we do, Billy will add, or I'm telling you he's not going to make it. In the main car, Chance will confront Carter. Then Victor will walk in and ask Carter if he's protecting Kane. He'll ask how long he's been working for Kane, and Carter will say 2 years. You have such a sense of duty to your employer, you might protect him no matter what. Carter will say that is correct. So, Chance will ask him if that would include framing an innocent man for murder. I did not do what you both think I did, Carter will tell them. But Victor will say, someone saw him place a knife, dripping with blood, in Nick's room. Carter will tell them whoever said they saw him place that knife under the sink is lying. We never said they placed that knife under the sink, Chance will reply. You put it there yourself, to frame my son for the murder of Damien Kane, Victor will add. Finally, Kane will walk in. Which is it? He'll ask. Then he'll say he needs to talk to Carter alone. Victor will assume it's so they can get their stories straight. So we can find out who the real killer is. Kane will reply, "Keep reading the soap scoop for Young." And the restless spoilers and news. And make sure to also join our Y&R Facebook group or leave us a reply in our comments section. But if you miss an episode, don't fret. You can watch The Young and the Restless online at cbs.com. The Young and the Restless spoilers for Friday, July 25th reveal that Sally Spectra will help with a first aid crisis while Carter has a story for Kane Ashby. Nikki Newman will also find herself cornered, so here's what Y&R fans can expect. In the storage room, Nick Newman will be in danger of bleeding out, so he'll need more first aid knowledge than Sharon Newman and Billy Abbott can offer. Sally will apparently have some knowledge in that department, so she'll get involved and work to stop Nick's blood loss. Kane's been telling his guests that they're stranded without cell service, but Billy may try to track him down and hope there's a way to call for help after all. Since Kane's phone secretly works, he may have to cave in and get Nick some assistance eventually. In the meantime, Kane will push his assistant for some answers since Carter accidentally incriminated himself. It seems Carter indeed planted the knife under Nick's sink, or at least knows who did. Of course, that's going to lead to questions about whether Carter might have killed Damian Kane too. Did Carter actually target Damian, or did he just come along in the aftermath and try to throw suspicion at Nick? Carter might claim he knew Kane would look guilty and was trying to keep his boss out of prison. As for Damian's murder, it's possible Carter's behind that. But what if someone else did the deed? It's an option to consider, since Nikki will find herself cornered on Friday's drama-filled episode. What if the real killer goes after Nikki while Carter's busy getting interrogated? Carter can't be in two places at once, so that could open the door to someone else being the murderer. Regardless, Victor Newman will take charge as more drama erupts, so he might come to Nikki's rescue and save her from a grim fate. The Young and the Restless spoilers reveal that fans will see some triple heartbreak for one character, while another faces a move-in rejection. Some tempting ex-lovers will collide as well, so let's talk about some major plot developments that are coming up. For starters, Nate Hastings will face 3 rounds of heartache since he's got some tough blows headed his way. For starters, Nate will have to face the crushing news about Damian Kane's grim fate. Sadly, Nate's heart will break all over again when he has to tell Amy Lewis that Damian's gone forever. Since Nate has almost come to think of Amy as a mother figure, it'll be hard to see her in so much pain. Nate's heart will shatter once more when he ultimately finds out about Audra Charles almost hitting the sheets with Kyle Abbott. Audra has been hiding the details of her seduction deal with Victor Newman, so Nate's going to feel betrayed when he gets updates on Audra's willingness to throw their relationship away for the sake of Vibrante. There's a good chance this will lead to Nate and Audra splitting up, so Nate has plenty of anger and sorrow ahead. Although Kyle intends to move in with Claire Newman and stick it to Victor as soon as he gets home, things may not go according to plan. For starters, Claire is grieving Cole Howard and may be reluctant to move out when Victoria Newman is mourning the loss too. That alone could be enough of a reason for Claire to delay her move-in with Kyle even further. Of course, there could be another reason for Claire to pump the brakes if Kyle admits Audra tried to seduce him. Claire may not exactly give Kyle a pat on the back for the trap he set, especially if she finds out it involved a heavy makeout session and him wearing a towel. Bottom line, Kyle may face a move-in rejection and maybe even a breakup if he can't spin this whole thing in his favor like he thought. We should also talk about some ex-lovers that'll prove tempting in the coming months on Y&R. Once Audra loses Nate, could that open the door to Holden Novak sizzling with his former flame? Holden has always been looking for an opportunity to reignite things with Audra, so it's possible they'll land back in bed together at some point, if only for a night. As for Nate and Victoria, they may have some temptation in their future too. Victoria's grief and Nate's breakup drama could collide in a reunion story that catches them both by surprise. Genoa City. For weeks, a chilling question has haunted Lily Winters. The man who returned to her, who wears her late husband's face and whispers his memories, is not the man she married. Now, the terrifying truth has been confirmed, and Lily finds herself entangled in a high-stakes drama where one wrong move could be her last. The moment Kane stepped back into Genoa City, a subtle shift occurred. While Lily initially rationalized his coldness and calculated demeanor as products of grief and trauma, her intuition screamed that something was profoundly wrong. His smile never reached his eyes, his touch lacked warmth, and his reactions felt rehearsed. The cracks in his flawless performance were tiny but telling. A hesitation over Kane's favorite cologne, a mispronounced word Kane always said a certain way. These were errors imperceptible to anyone but the woman who had shared a life with the real man. Playing the part of the devoted wife, Lily began a silent investigation. Her deepest fears were confirmed when a message from a private investigator in Paris delivered a clinical, brutal truth. A body had been identified, and the DNA matched Kane Ashby. He had been deceased for 3 months, buried on foreign soil, while a stranger slept in his bed and smiled in her face. The grief she had suppressed was replaced by a cold, terrifying resolve. This was no miracle resurrection. It was a monstrous deception. Realizing she was facing a dangerous and methodical criminal, Lily knew she couldn't fight him alone. She needed power, and she needed protection. Her first call was to Chance Chancellor, whose investigative background and unwavering moral compass made him the perfect first ally. Laying out the horrifying evidence, from the DNA report to the imposter's unnerving behavior, Lily found a steadfast partner. Chance, in turn, knew this operation required a level of influence only one man in Genoa City possessed: Victor Newman. Victor, ever the calculating patriarch, listened to the tale with piercing intensity. The thought of an enemy infiltrating a core family with such precision was not just a threat to Lily, but a potential threat to the entire Newman empire. An alliance was forged. Lily, Chance, and Victor began weaving a trap to unmask the villain hiding in plain sight. The plan was executed with surgical precision. Victor's resources planted a fake news story about financial discrepancies in Kane's old accounts, designed to rattle the imposter. Meanwhile, Chance fed Lily specific questions about a shared past that only the real Kane would know. The imposter's composure began to fray. He grew paranoid and controlling, his mask of calm slipping to reveal the desperate man beneath. The final piece of the puzzle snapped into place when he attempted to access a dormant biometric-protected bank account, and the prints didn't match. The endgame was set. Lily invited the imposter to a romantic dinner, a recreation of her last night with the real Kane. As he raised his glass to toast to their future, a signal was given. The doors burst open, and Victor's security team swarmed the room. The fight was short, the man restrained and unmasked. Under interrogation, the truth spilled out. He was a disgraced former associate, consumed by a years-long obsession with Kane. He had stalked him to Paris, murdered him, and meticulously stole his identity, his money, and the woman he loved. Lily watched the confession from behind a one-way mirror, not with tears, but with a hollow sense of justice. Kane's death would be avenged. As she walked out into the night, the immediate storm had passed, but the scars remained. A permanent reminder that in Genoa City, even the face of a loved one can hide the heart of a killer. The tension in Genoa City explodes as the fallout from a brutal confrontation leaves Nick Newman's life hanging by a thread. A severe abdominal wound has him bleeding out, marking the beginning of a harrowing ordeal that will test his will to survive and threaten to unravel his most cherished relationships. In the chaotic aftermath, a weakening Nick slips in and out of consciousness, fully aware that each passing moment brings him closer to death. A panicked Sharon is the first to grasp the severity of the situation, her heart pounding as she sees the blood pooling around him. Wasting no time, she enlists Billy's help, and together, they frantically rush an unresponsive Nick to the hospital. Every second is an eternity, with Sharon's mind consumed by the terrifying fear that they might already be too late. At the hospital, it's a desperate race against time. As the medical team preps Nick for emergency surgery, he lies on the precipice of death, his thoughts turning to unspoken truths and lifelong regrets. He calls for Sharon, determined to make his final peace. When she enters his room, her heart shatters as she hears him weakly murmur his last words, confessing his fears and his sorrow over a life he may not have time to set right. But as Nick begins to accept his fate, Sharon refuses to let him go. "Stop talking like that," she cries, her voice a mixture of anguish and fierce determination. "You're going to make it through this. I won't let you die, Nick. You hear me? I won't allow it." Her desperate plea becomes a lifeline, a vow that jolts Nick from his despair. In that moment, her love gives him a reason to fight. While Nick battles on the operating table, the architects of his misery, Kane and Carter, must face a reckoning. Their reckless decision to illegally imprison Nick and frame him for Damien's murder has set off a chain reaction they can no longer control. Their day of judgment is fast approaching, as two powerful forces are mobilizing to clear Nick's name. An enraged Chance Chancellor, disgusted by the injustice against his friend, is prepared to use his position to pursue justice. More formidable, however, is Victor Newman. A father's protective instincts have been ignited, and Victor will unleash his full, calculated wrath to hold those who wronged his son accountable. Will Nick survive the surgery? And even if he does, can his rekindled love with Sharon endure the traumatic aftermath and the war that is about to erupt in Genoa City? The road ahead is paved with uncertainty, but one thing is clear. As Victor Newman prepares to make his move, the ultimate test of love, loyalty, and survival is just beginning. Genoa City, Duswai. Lily Winters is playing the most dangerous game of her life. While she presents a calm and composed front, a storm of suspicion and a thirst for vengeance brews just beneath the surface. For months, the official story surrounding Damien's tragic death has felt wrong. Too neat, too clean, too quickly forgotten. Her suspicions have centered on her estranged lover, Kane, whose transformation following the tragedy has been nothing short of chilling. The man who once professed his love now lives in a fortified private fortress, a cold and sterile house where no warmth or visitors are allowed. Kane calls it his sanctuary, but Lily sees it for what it truly is: a bunker built on paranoia and guilt. Convinced the house holds the answers she seeks, Lily has changed her tactics. Feigning a desire for reconciliation, she has played the part of a forgiving woman longing to restore their lost love. Kane, blinded by his own arrogance, has welcomed her back, mistaking her calculated patience for submission. He has no idea that every soft touch and loving glance is part of a meticulous charade. Seizing her opportunity while Kane was away on a business trip, Lily executed a daring plan. Having memorized security codes and alarm sequences, she slipped into the impenetrable house, her heart pounding with a mixture of fear and determination. The air inside was cold and clinical, every object perfectly placed to maintain an illusion of control. Bypassing obvious hiding spots, she discovered what she was looking for: a section of wall behind a wine cabinet that opened to reveal a hidden staircase leading down into darkness. At the bottom, a heavy steel door blocked her path. And then she heard it, a faint, desperate plea for help. The voice was weak and broken, but it was unmistakably human. "Help me! Is someone there?" The words sent a chill down her spine. In that moment, Lily's darkest fears were confirmed. Damien wasn't dead. He was alive, imprisoned in a secret tomb beneath Kane's feet. Panicked, and knowing her time was limited before Kane's return, she whispered a promise through the door that she would be back for him. Forced to retreat, Lily's mission has transformed. It's no longer about finding the truth, it's about rescue and righteous vengeance. She now wears a mask of affection, playing the part of the devoted partner while secretly documenting Kane's every move, gathering evidence, and plotting his downfall. Kane believes he has Lily right where he wants her, blind to his manipulations. But he is sorely mistaken. Lily is no longer a victim. She is the storm he never saw coming. And she will stop at nothing to unearth the man he buried alive and destroy the monster he has become. Young and the Restless sees Billy Abbott and Phyllis Summers teaming up, about to burn all their bridges, and they might stumble into a romance soon, or at least a fling. We're going to talk about some red flags of a Philly affair ahead that could be hot, could be not. We'll see. We're going to talk about the fallout that's ahead from Billy and Phyllis, both making sketchy choices as they team up with Kane Ashby, and that could leave them with no one but each other. So, Right now, things aren't looking too good for Billy. He's kind of lost the plot. He went from being all excited about launching AbbotCom and wanting to make it a big success with Sally Spectra at his side, and all that enthusiasm has now flipped over. Now Billy's back to being obsessed about Chancellor, and with Victor Newman, Billy's back on this revenge kick, and Jack Abbott is so irritated he may yank the funding away, leaving AbbotCom, a company that dies before it ever starts. Mind you, Sally was afraid that Billy was getting fixated on Chancellor again, and on Victor again. That's why Sally made Billy put it in writing that she'd be the CEO of AbbotCom if Billy got Chancellor back. But once he told Jack about Sally being CEO and, Billy being back to wanting Chancellor, wanting to work with Kane to make it happen, well, Big Brother Jack flipped out. He warned Billy that he didn't bankroll AbbotCom for Sally or anybody else. Jack did it for Billy as a sort of fresh start to keep Billy on the right path away from chasing Victor for revenge games, to stop the fixation on Chancellor. And Jack was hoping to curb some of Billy's other dark and self-destructive tendencies. This week, Jack feels like he has no choice and makes a really tough decision about Billy. And I'm guessing he might shut down AbbotCom before it even launches. It may burn up on the launch pad. That will leave Sally in an awful position because she left her career in fashion at Marchetti to start this new venture with Billy. And if Jack shuts down AbbotCom, well, Sally is going to have nothing, So she might be really upset at Billy. Even if she forgives him, because Sally can be quite forgiving, I'm not sure that Billy can forgive himself or Jack or Victor. Billy likes to mostly blame things on other people, but he can also get very down and dark on himself, and that can send him to bad places. In the fallout, Sally may feel like she needs to take a step back from Billy, or maybe he can't face letting her down, and he goes on one of those downward spirals that we've all seen where Billy just piles one bad decision on the next. Billy is solely focused right now on teaming up with Kane to get Chancellor back so that Billy can run it. But Kane's not even had a conversation with Billy about any of this. So, he has got all this hinging on Kane, and Billy's making rash decisions based on nothing but wishes and hopes, kind of the same way that Phyllis has been doing. She's also betting on a career with Kane, and she's willing to turn her back on Nick Newman, on Jack, and others, and betray people that have been historically very close to her, very important to her, very forgiving towards her. Phyllis knows that Kane wants to take over Newman and Chancellor, and Winters and Jabot, the whole town. So, Phyllis knows all this, and she knows that helping Kane would betray most of her ex-husbands. Nick is already furious with Phyllis because he thinks she's siding with Kane, who's trying to frame him for murder. I mean, Nick's honestly being his usual hothead self. But still, he's got a right to be paranoid. I do give Phyllis credit. She's not being an unhinged hothead like Nick is being. And Phyllis genuinely thinks that Kane is innocent and didn't kill Damian Kane, and she doesn't think that he is framing Nick. Plus, Phyllis says that no one in GC wants to help her, so she'd rather gamble on Kane, who's much of a stranger to her really at this point. But by doing that, Phyllis is going to alienate everybody else. With that all in mind, we've got Billy and we've got Phyllis, who have decided to team up because they both want something from Kane. So, Billy and Phyllis are planning to prove that Kane is innocent so that he'll help get Chancellor and hand it over to Billy and hand over a great job to Phyllis. Even if those things manifest, which seems unlikely, the question is, what will getting those things cost them? We might see Billy and Phyllis with nobody left at their sides but each other and Kane, assuming he doesn't leave them both high and dry after taking their help. I mean, he's not exactly the most upstanding dude around. But even if Phyllis and Billy don't get what they want from Kane, they're still going to work together very closely while trying to make things happen. Billy may complain to Phyllis about his frustrations with Sally and with Jack. And of course, Phyllis doesn't like the other redhead, so she may encourage Billy to cut ties. Meanwhile, Nick angry with Phyllis, and Billy may encourage her to move forward and not look back and tell her, your daughter Summer Newman is grown. And Billy may tell Phyllis Nick's not her problem anymore. So, with these two possibly having only each other to lean on, Billy could quickly get very close to Phyllis, too close, and we could see sparks. There are some red flags that Billy and Phyllis may get involved, whether it's an affair, just a fling, or something more serious while chasing around after Kane on Young and the Restless. First red flag. Phyllis hasn't had a man in forever. She needs a man. She needs somebody in her sheets. Second red flag. Even though they've been doing it for a while, abruptly, Phyllis and Billy have quit judging each other and are now judging others and have shared opinions. Third red flag. They're the only ones that really don't have a serious grudge against Kane. Fourth red flag. They do have unfinished business. If you remember at Nick and Sharon Newman's last wedding years ago, Billy had just proposed to Phyllis, and she happily said yes. Then Sharon blew up on Nick at the altar and revealed he'd slept with Phyllis. It was kind of a misunderstanding, but also kind of cheating. It was messy for sure. Billy dumped Phyllis on the spot, so they never got to see that to fruition. And if you remember, Billy and Phyllis used to be really fun together. That was a long time ago when they had that messy split 30 seconds after getting engaged. Now, in recent months, Billy and Phyllis have become friends again, for the most part, until her kidnapping. Then Billy fired her. But then again, he fired Phyllis thinking he was doing the right thing and in her own best interest. She raged and felt like he just plugged Sally into Abbotcom in her place. But they're back at a good place because they are mutually unhappy with everything else in their lives. If Bill and Sally hit the skids, I think that will be the final red flag that something big is going to happen between Billy and Phyllis. Phyllis is single, and if Billy is too, or if he thinks he's about to be because Sally's really ticked off, I could see Billy and Phyllis heating up in a big way. Maybe cheating, maybe romance, maybe a fling, maybe a one-night stand. We'll see. Let me know what you think. Would you rather see Billy with Sally or Phyllis? The Young and the Restless spoilers and updates reveal Kyle Abbott set a makeout trap that crossed the line, even though he didn't fully cheat on Claire Newman. Is Claire going to be outraged anyway by all that unwarranted kissing with Audra Charles? Perhaps with someone else ratting out Kyle? Kyle is acting all smug and triumphant, yet he still overstepped his bounds with Audra, even though they didn't go all the way. Naturally, Kyle's intention was to test how far Audra would go, but was going that far truly necessary? The instant Audra leaned in for that initial kiss, Kyle should have pulled away and given her his "I see through you" speech. Instead, he continued to play the game and ended up on top of Audra in bed, clad only in a towel. Audra and Kyle were kissing passionately, so what if Claire had been there to see it all? Or someone tells her you can be sure Claire wouldn't have approved of Kyle's actions. Kyle might believe he has triumphed, but what if he returns home and brags to Claire about his successful trap, or worse, someone else relays the news? Claire's response could be far from what Kyle anticipates, particularly since her feelings are in turmoil following Cole Howard's death. When Claire confronts Kyle about the entire situation, she could be horrified by how inappropriate it all was. Kyle is meant to be devoted to Claire. He shouldn't have been all over Audra for any reason, even if it was to validate his claims about Audra and Victor Newman's scheme. Claire might take issue with Kyle's antics in Nice, while she was left to grieve alone at home. Even though Kyle was unaware of Cole's passing due to poor cell reception, it will still hurt that he was preoccupied with Audra while Claire was grieving. Kyle's behavior was appalling and can be seen as a significant betrayal of Claire's trust. He certainly didn't inform Claire that he intended to set Audra up for this fall and kiss her in the meantime. Fans of Y&R recognize that this is Claire's first genuine relationship, which has always felt somewhat immature, almost reminiscent of a high school romance. The fact that Kyle was kissing Audra without Claire's consent could still be a major issue for her, especially given her current emotional vulnerability. Be sure to catch up on everything happening with Y&R right now. Come back here often for the Young and the Restless spoilers, news, and updates. Adam and Victoria's days of fighting could be over. Adam and Victoria have been embroiled in a sibling rivalry for years on The Young and the Restless. Adam's the black sheep of the Newman family, and Victoria hasn't shown any kindness or forgiveness toward her half-brother. However, recent events have shifted the siblings' dynamic. While the Newman family is in France, Adam and Victoria stayed in Genoa City. Adam tended to business at Newman Media, while Victoria cared for an ailing Cole. Sadly, Cole's health worsened, and he passed away. It's been a heartbreaking time for Victoria, who found support from her brother, Adam. The two have always had a frosty relationship, but their recent scenes hint at a turning point for the siblings. Y&R fans on Reddit are looking forward to seeing Adam and Victoria becoming closer. Adam and Victoria seem to have met on equal ground. It was realistic, organic, and heartfelt. I'm patiently waiting for more heartfelt and engaging exchanges between them as they build this relationship, wrote one viewer. I love that Victoria seems to finally trust Adam enough to confide in him and trust his opinion on such a serious topic, one user replied. Their rivalry sucks. They need to end it. It was nice seeing them support each other, another fan wrote. Victoria's hated Adam because of his devious actions toward the family and her ex-husband, Billy. But with Adam turning over a new leaf and being there during Victoria's time of need, she'll start to view him differently. Adam and Victoria's bond will surprise the Newmans when they return from France. While Victoria's relationship with Adam becomes stronger, her relationship with the rest of the family may falter. Victoria might resent them for being in France while she was home grieving for Cole.